this. Let's assume that you have a nice job where you are earning $50,000 a year, and in order to earn this $50,000, you're working 40 hours a week for 52 weeks a year. So you're putting in 2,080 hours in order to earn this $50,000 of money. Now, what you have to ask yourself is, what is this $50,000 that you're earning? I mean, it's $50,000 worth of money, but how much effort is really required to earn or create that $50,000 that you had to work to earn? Because the government can create or print that $50,000 before I can even finish the sentence with just the push of a button. So Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, really made popular this idea that our money, these dollars that we work so hard to earn, is fake because our money, or what we call money, is not backed by gold or silver or anything tangible. This money is just paper, and we work so hard to earn this paper, while the government can just print this paper with the click of a button. But it's kind of hard to imagine that our money is fake because this is the money that we use to pay our rent, to buy our food, and to buy our vacations. But the question that you want to ask yourself, especially now more than ever, is what are you working for? You say that you're working for money. Okay, but what is money? Is it that paper $100 bill that I have? Right now, at the time of me recording this video, the United States has right around $28 trillion worth of national debt, and we are on pace to hit $78 trillion worth of national debt in just a few years. Now, that probably just seems like a random big number because it's really hard for our brains to comprehend what $1 trillion is, so let me try to break it down. Let's assume that you can count $1 in 1 second. If you could do that and you wanted to count $1 million, it would take you 11 days. Now, that's probably not something you want to do, but you could do it. If you wanted to count $1 billion, it would take you just over 31 years. Again, that's definitely not something you'd want to do, but you could do it in your lifetime. But if you wanted to count $1 trillion, that would take you 31,000 years. That's not something you could do in your lifetime. Now, if we multiply that by 28, which is $28 trillion, the amount of national debt that we have, that means it would take you almost 900,000 years to count the amount of national debt that we have, and we're on pace to triple that in just a few years. So what is my good friend Benji really worth? No hard feelings, Benji. Well, money is supposed to be a representation of worth. If your time is valued at $20 an hour and you spend an hour at work, then you earn $20. That's also supposed to make spending money pretty straightforward, because if you want to buy a $100 scarf, that means you got to work for 5 hours to earn $100 to afford the scarf. The tricky thing now is that the value of our money can be manipulated. Back in the day, our dollars used to be tied to the value of gold. And let's assume hypothetically that an ounce of gold is worth $20. So if you put in an hour work and you made $20, you effectively made 1 ounce of gold worth of value. These paper dollars were really just a paper representation of how much value that you created, that you could see through how much gold that you were entitled to. If you put in 1 hour of work, you're entitled to 1 ounce of gold. If you put in 5 hours of work, you're entitled to 5 ounces of gold. So this creates a benchmark of value, because not only does it take you time and effort and labor to earn that $20, but it also takes time and effort and labor to mine 1 ounce of gold. So it was a lot easier to define what $100 was worth, because $100 was worth whatever it took to mine 5 ounces of gold. But then in the 1970s, our dollar was taken off of the gold standard, so our dollars became just paper.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
That's when our dollars changed to something called fiat currency, and I'll just read you the definition of what that means. A fiat currency is a national currency like our dollar that is not pegged to the price of a commodity like gold or silver. The value of a fiat currency is largely based on the public's faith in the currency's issuer, which is normally the government. So this money that you're working so hard to earn is not backed by gold or silver or anything tangible. It's just a piece of paper that's backed by the government. Now, lucky for us, the United States is the most powerful country in the world. It has the most powerful military presence in the world, and it has the most powerful economy in the world. Before we go any deeper in this, let me just make sure this is clear. I'm not trying to promote any conspiracy theories. I just want you to understand how your money works. That way you can learn how to use your money the right way, because that's what financial education is all about, And that's what we talk about on our YouTube channel all the time. We talk about investing your money, saving smartly, and using your money the right way. Well, if you don't understand what your money is, then the financial education doesn't really have that much value. When your dollars are not backed by anything tangible, it makes it very easy to manipulate the value of the dollars that you're working so hard to earn. I'll show you what I mean. So let's go back to this example where now I'm working really hard to earn $50,000 a year. So this is me, and I'm going to work every single day. Gotta draw me a nice mustache. I'm going to work every single day so I can make $50,000 in a year. And let's assume, for the sake of this example, just to keep things simple, that there are only $500,000 in the entire world. So I worked really hard to attract and earn this $50,000, and there's only $500,000 in the world, which means I control 10% of this country's buying power of this dollar. So I own 10% of the wealth because that's what I worked hard to earn. Now here's the thing, if these dollars are just paper and the government comes out and they say, you know what, we're going to increase the money supply and we're going to change the amount of dollars out there from $500,000 to $1 million, they have just increased the money supply, and if I don't get any of that, now I don't have 10% of the world's wealth, I only have 5% of the total buying power or world's wealth, because the amount of dollars out there just doubled because the government decided to print more money and inject it into the economy. And unless I get some of that, I just became poorer because I have the same amount of money when there's more money out there. Now, if I wanted to go out and buy myself a side of extra guac that used to cost $5 when there was only $500,000 in circulation, I'm gonna need $10 in order to buy the same side now, because you need the same kind of percentage, the same amount of wealth, the same amount of value in order to buy that guac, because now there's so many more dollars out there. It might sound like a crazy example, and yeah, it's a little bit simplified, but that's kind of how our monetary system works. Our money supply is controlled by our central banking system, which is known as the Federal Reserve Bank, and the Federal Reserve Bank has the ability to print money. So when you hear about things like the rising national debt, and you hear bailouts are happening, you hear about stimulus checks, what that means is the government is going deeper into debt to fund whatever it is they want to do. And in order to fund their debt, they're working with the Federal Reserve Bank to print this money, and then the Federal Reserve Bank gives this money to the United States government, and then the United States government then injects this money into our economy. Could you imagine if you had your own money printer? I mean, you could walk into the mall, go to the Gucci store, and see that $400 scarf and say, oh no, I don't have $400. Let me just print a few $100, boop, 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 $400 come out, now you just got yourself a new Gucci scarf. You and I, unfortunately, don't have the ability to do that because we have to work to earn this money, but the Fed can just print money. This money printing does have consequences, because now you need $2 to buy you what $1 could before. This is what inflation is. This is why your rent keeps getting more expensive. This is why your groceries keep getting more expensive. You need more dollars to have the same buying power that you had before. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Here's the thing, if you work really hard and you earn $100 and you save this money in the bank, what are you actually saving? I mean, it took you effort and labor and work to earn this $100, and when you save this money in the bank, what do you end up actually saving? If you work really hard and you live below your means and you save $10,000 to help fund your retirement, and you want to be risk averse and you don't want to invest this money, so you save this money in your bank, that way you know where this cash is, well, the $10,000 that you save isn't going to have the same amount of buying power when it comes time for you to retire. Like if you saved $10,000 back in 1970, that $10,000 in 1970 would have gone way further than it will today. Like today, you would need about $70,000 to buy what $10,000 could back in 1970. So you save this $10,000, but each and every day, the buying power of the $10,000 is slowly dropping. Now, practically speaking, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't save any money. There is value to having savings, and I'll get to that in just a minute, but you need to understand what this really causes. So when the Fed prints money, they need to get it into the economy. And there's a couple ways that they can do that. So the Fed is printing some money, and the first main way that they get this money into the economy is by giving this money to banks, because banks are really involved in the money supply, and so if banks have more money, they'll be able to lend more money. The second way that you can see this money injected into the economy really only happens during crisis times. This is what you saw happen in 2008 and during the 2020 recession, where money can be injected into people through stimulus checks, or it can be given directly to companies through bailouts. So one way this money gets into the economy is through banks, and the other way is through a direct payment either to people or to businesses. But let's dive a little bit deeper into this. So interest rates are cut and banks have all these incentives to lend more money. So what happens? Well, you see two types of people. You see people like, number one, who go and borrow money, and then they go out and they buy assets. So these are people that are going out borrowing money from the bank at low interest rates, and they're investing this money. Maybe they're buying businesses, they're investing into real estate, whatever. They want to get this money from the bank. That way they can make themselves richer. The other type of people, let's call this person number two, they use this money from the bank to make them broker. They're buying liabilities. So now you have these people going to the bank with all this newly funded money, and they're borrowing this money to buy a new wardrobe on their credit card, or they're buying themselves a new car, or they're buying themselves a nice fancy vacation. So now they're making money just for the bank, because they're borrowing money, buying things that don't make them any money, and now all this money and this interest is going back to the bank while leaving this person broke. Now watch this. There's a bigger pool of money in the world because there's more money that was printed, and this person is using this money to buy more assets. They're buying things that make them more money, and so they own a bigger share of the entire kind of money pot, while this person is spending all their money to buy things that lose them money. So if you even just had the same amount of money as before, you're effectively poorer than before, because now there's all this other money out there and you don't own any of the other money because you use all your money to buy things that lose you money. So this person is owning a bigger share of the pot, while this person is owning a smaller share of the pot because more money is being created, and this person buying assets is buying the things where all the money is going, and this person is the one paying for all of these assets to grow. So now you're seeing a bigger divide between the rich and the poor, because the people that understand money are the people that are buying assets, and all this new money is flowing into the assets, while the people that don't understand money are effectively becoming poorer, because even if you have some savings, your savings are not stretching as far, and if you have a job, your earnings are not stretching as far, and all of your money is going out back to the bank because you're not using your money to buy something that's actually going to make you wealthy. You have all your money going out. But it gets a little bit worse, because watch this. Now when you have these direct payments, it's going to go either to a business or it's going to go to a person. So a person would be through a stimulus check, a business would be something through a bailout. When a business gets free money through a bailout, guess who wins? It's the person who is investing in the business. It is not the average person, unless you're working for that company. But in general, if a business is getting bailed out, the people who are winning are the people who own the business, and I guess the people that work there because they continue to have jobs. So this helps the asset owners, the people that understand money. The person who gets the stimulus check, what do? Well, they take this money and then they walk on over to Amazon, or they go to Walmart, or they go to Kroger, or they go to Lululemon, or they go to Apple, or they go to Chipotle and buy themselves some extra guac. So you take this free money and you spend it back here. I'm gonna draw this kind of a convoluted way, back at the businesses. So you made this free money, this more money was injected into the economy, you got it, and then you give this money to the businesses. Now when the money goes to the businesses, guess who's winning again? It is the asset owner, because when you own assets, you are the one making money when everybody else is spending money. And so now what's happening? You have all this more money that's created, all this more money that's printed, it's injected into the economy. Now you have way more dollars out there, but more of these dollars are getting funneled to the top, to the people that understand money. Because now when people make money, or when people get this free money, they spend it. And where do they spend it? At businesses. So now businesses have a bigger share of the pot because there's all these dollars out there and all these dollars flow into the businesses and people are spending all their money at businesses. So now businesses have a bigger share of the pot. And the people that understand money are the ones that are really benefiting because they're owning the assets. They're the ones that own the businesses. They're the ones that are investing in the businesses. They're the ones that are investing in assets where the money is flowing, versus the people that don't understand the system are becoming poorer and poorer because now, even if you have the same amount of money as before, it's a smaller percentage of the pot, so you're effectively becoming poorer because you don't own as much as you did before. Now your dollars don't stretch as far, your savings aren't as powerful, and your earnings don't buy you as much as they did once before. Now going back to the whole idea of saving money, we are seeing the lowest interest rates in the history of time. Now that's good news if you're a business or for somebody that's using this money to now make yourself more money. And it's, I guess, good news if you're this person because now your debt is a little bit cheaper, but in reality it's really not so good news because that means you're just becoming poorer because you're using more of your money to buy liabilities because you think you're saving money when in actuality you're actually just becoming poorer. But the real issue now is if you're saving your money, you're not getting any return on your savings because banks, when you have lower interest rates, banks pay you less interest on your savings. So when interest rates go down, yeah, you get a lower interest rate on your mortgage, which is nice. You get a lower interest rate on your credit card payments, which might be nice. But the issue now for your savings is your savings aren't growing either. Your savings are still, they're flat, they're dead. They're not doing anything. And so when you save $10,000 in the bank, after a few years, your $10,000 only earned you a few pennies. Let me diagram what this means. So here are your savings over time. Your savings are flat, they're dead. They're not growing because banks are not paying you any interest on your savings. But at the same time, the price of everything around you, your rent, your groceries, your healthcare bills, your vacations, everything else keeps going up because of inflation. We just talked about this. As more money is printed, the value of your dollars go down, which makes the price of everything around you go up. This is not a secret. This is public information. The Fed is openly saying that they're working hard to increase inflation. And so when they say they're trying to increase inflation, that means they're working hard to print more money to make the price of things go up. While at the same time, you know that your savings are not growing at all. So your savings are dead, the price of things keep going up, which means if you're saving all of your money, you are effectively becoming poorer because your money's not doing anything while the price of everything keeps going up. So what does this mean for you? Before I get a whole herd of comments of everybody saying, "Oh, Jaspreet, are you telling me not to save any money?" Let's get this straight. Saving your money is important. You need to have an emergency fund. You need to have savings to protect you from an emergency, but you need to understand why you're saving your money. Saving your money is important as a financial cushion to protect you from you losing your job, from a financial hardship, from a crisis. That's why your savings are there. Your savings are there to protect you from going into debt when something goes wrong. If you want to be a small saver, then your goal should be to save something around 3 months worth of expenses. If you want to be in a good saving spot, then you want to save about 6 months worth of expenses. And if you want to be an aggressive saver, then your goal should be to save 12 months worth of expenses. So if you're spending $3,000 a month, just calculate it out. Now what you need to remember is why you're saving your money. Your savings are not there to make you wealthy. Your savings are there to protect you financially. Once you have your savings locked, now you need to really be investing your extra cash because you want to be on the winning side of what's happening financially. This could mean investing in real estate or businesses or stocks or commodities. It really just depends on what your investing goals are and what your risk tolerance is. The whole reason you want to be investing your money is because now you want to be the person that's owning the assets. So if more money is printed, this money flows into your assets, which makes the value of your assets go up because of inflation. And now you're on the winning side of inflation. That way you're not getting abused by the financial system. If you enjoyed this clip and you want want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.